You know that sinking feeling when your elderly mom calls you crying? Well, try getting that call while you're at a mayor's conference, only to find out the spiteful HOA president just bulldozed your childhood home for a parking lot. What they didn't know was that they just messed with the wrong city official, and I had the power to make their lives a living nightmare. But how far would you go for revenge when you hold the keys to the entire city? Have you ever felt that gut-wrenching helplessness watching someone you love being bullied? That's exactly how I felt seeing my 78-year-old mom trembling as she held yet another HOA violation notice in her weathered hands. But let me start from the beginning. It was a peaceful Sunday morning when I first noticed Karen Whitfield, our new HOA president, prowling around Mom's front yard with a ruler and a camera. I was dropping off Mom's weekly groceries, something I'd done every Sunday since Dad passed away 3 years ago. Mom's house wasn't fancy, but it was home. A cozy 2-story brick house where I grew up, with Dad's handmade wind chimes still singing in the breeze and Mom's prize-winning roses filling the air with their sweet scent. "Excuse me," Karen's shrill voice cut through the morning calm. "These roses are exactly 3.2 inches over regulation height." She waved her ruler in Mom's face like a weapon. "And these decorations," she sneered, pointing at Dad's wind chimes. "They're not on the approved list." I stepped forward, ready to say something, but Mom squeezed my arm. "It's okay, honey," she whispered. "Don't make trouble. You have your reputation as mayor to think about." That's the thing about my mom, always thinking of others first. Even now, with this woman practically breathing down her neck, she was worried about my career. If only I'd known then what was coming. I wouldn't have just nodded and driven away to my next city meeting. The violation notices started arriving daily after that. First it was the roses, then the wind chimes. Soon Mom was getting cited for everything, from non-regulation mailbox color to excessive bird activity at feeders. Each notice came with a fine, each fine bigger than the last. I tried reasoning with Karen at the monthly HOA meeting. "These regulations weren't in place when my mother's house was built," I explained calmly, though my blood was boiling. "She's lived here for 40 years. Karen just smiled that fake smile of hers, adjusting her designer glasses. "Rules are rules, Mayor Thompson. We can't have exceptions." The way she said my title made it clear. She was daring me to use my position to intervene. But what really got to me was finding Mom in tears one evening, trying to take down Dad's ceramic angels from her garden. "Karen says they're unauthorized structures," she sniffled, her hands shaking so bad she almost dropped one. "She's threatening to put a lien on the house if I don't comply." I helped Mom inside and made her some tea, my mind racing. This wasn't just about garden decorations anymore. I'd seen that predatory look in Karen's eyes, the way she kept bringing up property values and neighborhood standards. Something bigger was brewing. That night, as I was leaving, I noticed a fancy car parked across the street. Through the tinted windows, I could make out Karen talking to someone. The logo on the car's door caught my eye. Golden Parking Solutions. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah Chen, my old friend from high school who now sat on the city council. "Check your email," it read. "You need to see this." I pulled up my phone and opened the attachment. It was a draft proposal for a new neighborhood improvement project. My heart stopped as I read the proposed location. Just then, Mom called out from her porch, "Don't forget your lunch container, honey." She was smiling, surrounded by her beloved roses, standing in the exact spot marked on the proposal's map. As I drove home, questions swirled in my mind. Why was Karen really measuring the property lines? What was she planning with Golden Parking Solutions? And most importantly, how far would she go to get what she wanted? I gripped my steering wheel tighter, a plan already forming in my mind. Karen might think she had all the power here, but she'd forgotten one crucial detail. I hadn't spent the last 5 years as mayor without learning how to fight back. The real question was, could I expose her scheme before it was too late? I'll never forget the morning I saw Karen standing in front of Mom's house, taking pictures with her iPad while talking on her phone. My stomach dropped when I heard her say, "Yes, this is the property I mentioned. It's perfect for the new development." She jumped when she saw me watching her, quickly hanging up and plastering on that fake smile of hers. That evening, I sat at Mom's kitchen table, my hands wrapped around a mug of her chamomile tea, watching her hands shake as she showed me the stack of HOA violation notices. 37 in just 2 weeks, she whispered, her voice breaking. "They're even complaining about the bird feeder your father built." The wooden feeder had stood in our backyard for 25 years, bringing cardinals and blue jays to brighten Mom's mornings since Dad passed. I decided to attend the next HOA meeting, not as the mayor, but as a concerned daughter. The community center was packed, but the moment I walked in, the room went quiet. Karen sat at the head table, her perfectly manicured nails drumming against her laptop. "Mayor Thompson," she said, emphasizing my title like it was a joke. How nice of you to finally join us. The meeting started normally enough, with discussions about community pool hours and fence paint colors. Then Sarah Chen, my childhood friend and city council member, slipped me a note. Check item 7 on the agenda. When Karen reached it, my blood ran cold. Proposal for community enhancement. Project, partnership with Golden Parking Solutions. Karen clicked through a sleek presentation, showing plans for a much-needed parking facility to serve the growing community. The proposed location? A cluster of underperforming properties that just happened to include Mom's house. The slides showed drawings of a gleaming parking structure, where our family homes now stood, complete with retail opportunities and enhanced revenue streams. I raised my hand, maintaining my composure even as anger burned in my chest. Ms. Whitfield, have the affected homeowners been consulted about this proposal? The room tensed. Karen's smile never wavered as she replied, The HOA board is empowered to make decisions for the greater good of the community. Your mother's quaint property style is unfortunately bringing down neighborhood values. After the meeting, Sarah pulled me aside. There's more, she whispered, glancing around to make sure no one was listening. I've seen Karen meeting with representatives from Golden Parking Solutions 3 times this month. They're not just planning a parking lot, they're talking about a whole commercial complex. That night I couldn't sleep. I pulled out my laptop and started digging through city records, property maps, and HOA bylaws. Something about this didn't add up. The HOA's jurisdiction had specific boundaries, and Mom's property sat right on the edge. I needed more information, but Karen had already blocked my official requests for HOA documents, citing conflict of interest because of my position as mayor. The next morning, I hired a private investigator to look into Golden Parking Solutions. While waiting for results, I visited Mom, only to find her in tears again. Karen had sent 2 property inspectors, who spent an hour photographing every inch of Mom's house, claiming they were documenting violations. The rose bushes Dad planted for their 40th anniversary had been marked with orange tape for immediate removal. I was about to leave when I noticed something odd. Through Mom's kitchen window, I could see Karen in her backyard, having what looked like a heated argument with a man in an expensive suit. I grabbed my phone and zoomed in to take a picture. The man turned, and I nearly dropped my phone. It was James Whitfield, Karen's husband. But why was he meeting with her in their backyard instead of at the HOA office? The answer came the next day when my investigator called. Mayor Thompson, he said, you're going to want to see this. Golden Parking Solutions? It's a subsidiary of Whitfield Development Corporation. Karen's husband is the CEO. I sat back in my chair, pieces clicking into place. The constant harassment of Mom, the rushed proposals, the blocked documents. It wasn't just about property values or parking spaces. This was about money, power, and corruption. And Karen had no idea she'd just given me everything I needed to stop her. As I walked to my car that evening, Karen's voice called out from behind me. Mayor Thompson, I hope you're not planning to make this personal. After all, business is business. I turned slowly, meeting her gaze. You're right, Karen. Business is business, and you have no idea who you're dealing with. My heart stopped when I saw the 15 missed calls. From Mom, I was stuck in a stuffy conference room in Washington, D.C., listening to another mayor drone on about parking meters, when my phone started buzzing again. This time I answered. Sweetie, there are big yellow machines outside. Mom's voice shook with fear. They're tearing up my garden, my roses. They're crushing everything. I grabbed my laptop and ran out of the meeting, not caring about the stares. Mom, stay inside. I'm calling the police right now! But the sounds coming through the phone made my blood run cold. The crash of breaking wood, Mom's terrified scream, the rumble of heavy machinery getting closer. They say I have 10 minutes to get out, Mom cried. Karen's here with some men in suits. They're saying something about structural problems and emergency orders. They won't listen to me. I called Karen while keeping Mom on my cell, straight to voicemail. I tried the HOA office. No answer. I even called our family lawyer, but it was Sunday. Every minute that passed felt like torture. As I heard more destruction through the phone. The police are here, Mom whispered. But Karen's showing them some papers. They're just standing there watching. Please, I don't know what to do. I felt so helpless, trapped thousands of miles away. Get your medicine and photo albums. Right now, Mom. And Dad's flag from the war. Don't argue, just do it. My childhood friend Sarah finally picked up her phone. She lived just 2 streets over from Mom. I'm already here, she said, her voice tight with anger. It's bad. Really bad. They've got 3 bulldozers and a demolition crew. Karen's drinking champagne on her porch like she's watching a show. Your mom needs to get out now. They're not stopping. I heard glass breaking. Mom was crying harder now. The photos? There's too many! Sarah's trying to help, but they won't give us more time. Leave them, I ordered, hating every word. Just get out. Please, Mom, get out now. The next few minutes were a blur of phone calls. To the governor's office, to every media outlet in the state, to my emergency response team. But it was like pushing against a brick wall. By the time I got through to anyone with real power, it was too late. I watched it happen on Sarah's phone livestream. The house where I grew up, where Dad taught me to ride a bike, where Mom baked cookies every Sunday, reduced to splinters and dust in under an hour. Karen stood there the whole time, sipping her champagne, that smug smile on her face as she watched my mom sobbing in Sarah's arms. The moment my plane landed 6 hours later, I drove straight to Sarah's house where Mom was staying. She looked so small, clutching Dad's folded flag and her medicine bag, the only thing she managed to save. The ceramic angels from Dad, her recipe books, their wedding album. Everything else was gone. I tried to stop them, she whispered, her hands shaking as she held mine. I kept telling them you're the mayor, but Karen just laughed. She said, not in this neighborhood she isn't. I held Mom while she cried herself to sleep that night. But my mind was racing. Karen thought she'd won, that she'd finally broken us. She had no idea what she just started. Tomorrow, I'd show her exactly what being mayor meant. But first, I needed to make some calls. As Mom finally drifted off, I noticed something sticking out of her pocket. A crumpled violation. Notice from the HOA. But this one was different. The date on it was wrong, and Karen's signature looked off. I grabbed my phone and started taking pictures. Maybe Karen wasn't as careful with her paperwork as she thought. And maybe, just maybe, this was the thread that would unravel her whole scheme. Sitting there in the dark, watching Mom sleep, I made a promise. Not just to rebuild our house, but to make sure Karen and her corrupt HOA would never hurt another family again. They thought they'd seen the last of us, but really, this was just the beginning. I couldn't sleep that night, watching Mom cry herself to sleep on my couch, clutching the only family photo she managed to save. The image of Karen sipping champagne, while Mom's home, crumbled, kept playing in my mind like a bad movie. At 3 a.m., I decided enough was enough. My hands shook as I pulled up the city's property records on my laptop. Something about that demolition felt wrong. Even HOAs couldn't move that fast without proper permits. Sarah had taught me to trust my gut during my first year as mayor. And right now, my gut was screaming that Karen had messed up somewhere. I called Sarah, not caring about the time. I need access to the old property maps, I said when she answered, voice groggy. The ones from before the HOA was established. 20 minutes later, she was at my door with her laptop and a determined look in her eyes. We spread everything out on my kitchen table while Mom slept nearby. Look at this, Sarah whispered, pointing to a faded line on an old survey map. The original property line puts your mom's front yard outside. HOA jurisdiction by exactly 3.5 feet. My heart started racing. And where did they start the demolition? I asked, already knowing the answer. Sarah pulled up the photos I'd taken earlier. Right at the front steps. But that wasn't all. As we dug deeper into the permit records, something even bigger jumped out. Golden Parking Solutions. Wasn't just any company. It was owned by Thomas Whitfield, Karen's husband. The same company that had been given an exclusive contract for the demolition. And parking lot construction? Worth millions. I felt my phone buzz. A text from Mike Reynolds, my old college roommate who now worked at the local news station. Check your email, it read. You need to see this. I opened the video he'd sent, and there it was. Security footage from last week showing Karen and her husband meeting with the demolition company behind the community center, exchanging what looked like envelopes. The sun was rising when we finished connecting all the dots. Karen hadn't just bulldozed my mom's home. She'd orchestrated an entire scheme. The violation notices, the emergency demolition order, the parking contract. It was all part of a plan to line her own pockets. She'd gotten sloppy in her greed, leaving a trail of evidence even a rookie lawyer could follow. I made Mom her favorite breakfast, blueberry, pancakes with extra syrup, and told her to trust me. Then I called an emergency meeting with the city's legal team. They were shocked but excited. This was the kind of case that could set precedents. By noon, we had a solid strategy. That afternoon, I walked into the HOA office, calm as could be, asking to see their demolition permits. Karen's assistant stammered something about them being in process. I smiled, remembering Dad's old advice. Keep your friends close and your evidence closer. Just then, Karen strutted in, that familiar smirk on her face. Mayor Thompson, what a surprise. Coming to terms with progress? She asked, gesturing to the rubble visible through her office window. I watched her face carefully as I placed a single photo on her desk. The security footage screenshot of her parking lot deal. Her smirk vanished faster than a snowman in July. Where did you get that? She demanded, reaching for the photo. I pulled it back, adding more to the pile. Property maps, permit violations, contract documents. You know, Karen, my dad always said the best revenge is serving justice with a side of karma. The color drained from her face as she realized what I'd found. But when she reached for her phone to call her husband, I was already heading for the door. Oh, and Karen? I turned back. The HOA meeting tonight is going to be very interesting. You might want to bring your lawyer. As I walked to my car, I could hear her frantically dialing numbers. But it was too late. The evidence was already safely filed with the district attorney, and copies were on their way to every HOA board member's email. Mom's roses might be gone, but justice was about to bloom in their place. I looked at my watch. 6 hours until the HOA meeting. 6 hours until Karen learned what happens when you bulldoze the wrong mayor's mother's house. And this time, I'd make sure every single neighbor was there to watch her world crumble, just like she'd watched Mom's home fall. I walked into City Hall that morning with a heavy briefcase and an even heavier heart. The emergency meeting I called wasn't just about Mom's house anymore. It was about every family that Karen and her HOA cronies had bullied over the years. My hands were shaking, but my voice wasn't going to. The council chamber was packed. News cameras lined the back wall, their red lights blinking like tiny warning signals. Karen sat in the front row, wearing her designer suit and that fake smile she always used when she thought she was winning. She even had the nerve to wave at me. Last week, I began. Many of you watched as bulldozers destroyed my mother's home of 40 years. The HOA claimed it was an emergency demolition for safety reasons. I paused, letting my words hang in the air. Today, I'm going to show you what really happened. The first slide clicked onto the screen behind me. Property maps from 1975, showing the original neighborhood layout. Sarah Chen, my friend from the council, started handing out copies to everyone present. Karen's smile twitched. Notice these boundary lines, I said, pointing to the map. The HOA's jurisdiction ends, exactly 3.5 feet before where they started demolition. Every inch of that demolition was illegal. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Karen's husband shifted uncomfortably in his seat. But I wasn't done. Now let's talk about Golden Parking Solutions. I clicked to the next slide, showing company registration documents. The company that was set to build a parking lot on my mother's property. Interesting how it's owned by none other than Thomas Whitfield, Karen's husband. Karen's face went from confident to ghostly pale in seconds. The other HOA board members started whispering among themselves, some already edging away from her. But wait, I continued, my voice getting stronger. It gets better. I pulled out a stack of violation notices, hundreds of them, collected from neighbors over the years. Every single one of these violations was issued to properties that later faced pressure to sell. And guess who bought those properties through shell companies? I'll give you one guess. The chamber erupted in angry murmurs. I saw Mrs. Rodriguez, who lost her garden last year, nodding furiously. Mr. Peterson, who was forced to sell his historic home, was openly weeping. That's when Karen made her big mistake. She stood up, her voice shrill. This is a witch hunt. You're just angry about your mother's worthless old house. The room went silent. I smiled for the first time that day. Thank you, Karen, for that outburst. Because now I'd like to play something. I nodded to Sarah, who started the audio recording. Karen's own voice, discussing kickbacks with Golden Parking Solutions, planning the whole scheme months ago. The next few hours were chaos. Karen's fellow board members, desperate to save themselves, started confessing everything. The illegal property acquisitions, the fake violation notices, the kickbacks, it all came pouring out. Thomas Whitfield tried to leave but found city police at the doors. Turns out fraud across state lines is a federal offense. I saved the best for last. As mayor of this city, I am invoking Emergency Order 47B, effectively immediately freezing all HOA assets pending investigation. I looked directly at Karen, remembering Mom's tears. And I'm establishing a victims' compensation fund from those assets. The vote was unanimous. Karen was let out in handcuffs, still screaming about her rights. Her husband was already calling his lawyer. The other board members looked like they'd seen ghosts. But the real moment came after, when Mom walked in with her box of salvaged photos. The whole room stood up. She hugged me tight and whispered, "You did good, baby. You did good." As reporters swarmed around us, someone asked if I was worried about retaliation. I looked at the cameras and said what I'd been waiting to say for weeks. In this city, we take care of our own. And if anyone thinks they can bully their way through our neighborhoods again, remember this day. Remember what happens when you mess with the wrong mayor's mama. The headlines next day read, "Mayor dismantles corrupt HOA empire." But for me, the real victory was simpler. Mom slept through the night for the first time since losing her home. Karen's reign of terror was over, and our real work, rebuilding our community, was just beginning. I almost dropped my coffee mug when Mom called me at dawn. "Sweetie, you need to see this," she said, her voice shaking with emotion. I rushed over to find Karen standing at the edge of our new property line, fuming as the construction crew tore up her precious parking lot project. The look on her face was worth every sleepless night I'd spent building this case. The past year had been a roller coaster of emotions and victories, each one sweeter than the last. After the city council stripped the HOA of their power, we discovered even more dirt on Karen's operation. Turns out she'd been running similar schemes in 3 other neighborhoods, using her husband's connections to force elderly residents out of their homes. The FBI got involved when they traced the money trail back to some very interesting offshore accounts. I still remember the day we broke ground on Mom's new house. The whole neighborhood showed up with shovels and smiles. Even Mrs. Rodriguez, who never leaves her house. Sarah organized a potluck, and someone started a GoFundMe for all the other families Karen had hurt. The local news couldn't get enough of the story. "Corrupt HOA meets its match in Mayor Mom" became their favorite headline. The new house took shape slowly, but we made sure to do it right. Mom insisted on keeping the same layout as her old home, but I secretly added some upgrades. Wider doorways for her walker, a first-floor master bedroom, and a state-of-the-art security system. The garden space doubled in size, with a special section dedicated to Dad's favorite flowers. Every morning, Mom sits in her new sunroom, drinking tea and watching her roses climb higher than Karen's old ruler could ever measure. Last week, during the housewarming party, little Tommy from next door asked me why there were so many people crying happy tears. I told him sometimes justice takes time, but it's worth fighting for. The community garden, where Karen's parking lot was supposed to be, is now full of vegetables and flowers, managed by a committee of residents who actually care about their neighbors. We named it the Thompson Memorial Garden. Dad would have loved seeing kids learning how to grow their own food there. Karen's empire crumbled faster than anyone expected. Her husband filed for divorce when the scandal hit the papers, taking what was left of their money and running off to Florida with his secretary. The last time anyone saw Karen, she was loading up a U-Haul at midnight, trying to dodge the reporters camped outside her house. Karma has a way of catching up, I guess. The best part? Yesterday, I signed the new Homeowner Protection Act into law. Sarah helped me draft it, making sure no HOA in our city could ever pull this kind of stunt again. We included special protections for elderly residents and strict oversight, requirements for any major property decisions. Mom sat in the front row at the signing ceremony, wearing Dad's favorite sweater and beaming with pride. This morning, as I helped Mom plant new rose bushes along her front walkway, she pulled out an old photo album. Inside was a picture of me at age 8, wearing Dad's oversized suit jacket and pretending to give speeches from our front porch. "You always said you wanted to help people," she smiled, wiping away a tear. "Your father would be so proud of how you did it." The neighborhood feels different now. People wave and stop to chat instead of hiding behind their curtains. Mrs. Rodriguez brings Mom homemade tamales every Sunday, and the Chen family's kids help tend the community garden after school. Even some of the former HOA board members admitted they were wrong and now volunteer at our monthly neighborhood cleanup days. As I sit here in Mom's new kitchen, watching her bake cookies for the neighborhood kids, while humming Dad's favorite song, I can't help but think about how close we came to losing everything. But sometimes the worst moments in life lead to the best changes. The framed newspaper article on Mom's wall says it all. Local mayor turns personal. Tragedy into community triumph. Today, I'm heading to a national mayor's conference to share our story and help other cities protect their residents from HOA abuse. Mom insists on coming along. She says her new mission is to be the voice for those who are too scared to speak up. Looking at her now, arranging cookies on a plate and planning her speech, I see the same strength that got us through this past year. And you know what? Karen might have torn down our old house, but she helped us build something much stronger. A real community. The information in this video is for informational and entertainment purposes only. I encourage you to do your own research and consult trusted sources for the most accurate information. HOA rules and laws vary by state and community, so always consult a qualified attorney or expert for guidance.